How to pay off debt. Good versus bad debt explained. If you have student loans, car loans, and credit cards, you're not alone. Today in this video, I want to explain what debt is, the difference between bad debt and good debt. You'll also learn all the debt categories, and finally, you'll know how to pay off debt using these strategies. Let's dive in, starting from the beginning. What is debt? Debt is when you owe money to someone. Maybe you're still paying for something you've bought. Yes, my friend, that's also debt. In simple words, debt is borrowed money from someone else. Celebrating something you can't afford, maybe you bought that nice car before you had the money. Bad debt. Or perhaps you borrowed money from your stepsister because no one else would give it to you. Debt simply means you're at the mercy of someone else until you pay it back. When you have debt, you no longer work just for yourself or your family, you work for the people you owe money to. Debt comes in many forms and sizes. No matter what type of debt it is, bad or good, debt steals money from your pockets and your future. It's time to take back control of your money. Certainly, no debt is good, however, there are two types of debt, good debt and bad debt. Bad debt and good debt. Let's start with bad debt. Bad debt involves borrowing money to purchase things that quickly lose value or for consumption purposes. If it doesn't generate income or increase in value, you absolutely should not go into debt to purchase the item. Here are some examples. 1. Cars. We all agree that borrowing money to buy a car is bad debt. First of all, it's not a good financial decision. Let me explain. You might think buying a car is a big problem, but after the purchase, the car is worth less than what you paid for it. If you urgently need to borrow money to buy a car, look for a loan with low or no interest. That way, even if you pay for an asset that will lose value over time, at least you won't pay interest on it. 2. Clothes and consumer goods. Did you know that clothes are worth less than half of what consumers pay for them? We all need clothes, food, and so on, but going into debt to buy brand new Gucci shoes is a terrible idea. Now let's look at good debt. Essentially, good debt has the potential to increase your net worth or, even more importantly, improve your life. In other words, it takes money to make money. Good debt is debt that can help you generate income that can increase your net worth. A couple of examples of good debt are: 1. Student loans. It makes sense because the more education an individual receives, the greater their earning potential. An investment in education can often pay for itself within a few years of entering the workforce. However, not all degrees have the same value, so it's worth considering both sides. 2. Mortgages. Yes, this is considered good debt. Mortgage debt has historically been considered one of the safest forms of good debt because your monthly payments ultimately create value in your home, but be careful not to borrow more than you can afford or use mortgage terms you don't fully understand, such as adjustable rate mortgages, which can pose significant risk. 3. Starting a business. Going into debt to start your own business is considered good debt. Being your own boss is satisfying not only financially but also psychologically, but it can also be very difficult work. Also, consider the fact that the risk of failure is not zero. BLS data shows that about 20% of new businesses fail during the first 2 years of operation, 45% during the first 5 years, and 65% during the first 10 years, with only 25% of new businesses lasting 15 years or more. Before going into debt to start a business, think twice. However, your chances of success increase if you choose a field you're passionate about and have expertise in. Debt categories. Secured debt. You just left the dealership, driving the car you dreamed of last night, can't wait to show it off to your friends and family, but there's a problem. That car isn't actually yours. The bank owns that car, you're paying the bank to drive the car. This is a simple example of secured debt. Now let's look at unsecured debt. Unsecured debt refers to money you've borrowed and for which there are no collateral if you don't make the payments. For example, a credit card is an example of unsecured debt. If you go out and charge a dinner at a restaurant or buy something at a store and don't make the payment, the credit card company can't come and seize anything. There's nothing they can take if you don't pay. Student loans are another example of unsecured debt. If you have a student loan and don't make the payments, there's no collateral for the loan. They're just money you've borrowed, but they're not directly tied to an asset. This makes it harder for the creditor to get their money back when you don't pay, so unsecured debt usually has a higher interest rate. Revolving debt and non-revolving debt. Revolving debt is essentially your credit card. You can borrow up to a certain amount, and as long as you make the minimum payment by a specific date each month, you can continue to spend. Non-revolving debt is debt that doesn't change. Your payment is usually fixed and the amount you've borrowed starts at a certain amount and then decreases, it never goes back up. There are various types of non-revolving credit you can get into, but it's essentially a fixed dollar amount loan that you're borrowing and paying back in set monthly payments before a certain date. It's debt that can't be used more than once. It's an auto loan, a business loan, a student loan, or a mortgage. You borrow a certain amount of money and pay it back in installments before a certain date, and your minimum monthly payment usually depends on how much you originally borrowed. Once you've paid off the loan, it's gone, and you no longer have funds to spend. Beware of sneaky debts. Computers, cars, motorcycles. You've probably seen the flashing neon signs: annual percentage rate 0%, 90 days same as cash. Most people can't pay it off within 90 days, and the moment your time is up, the crazy interest rates kick in with full force. A good piece of advice would be not to fall for these disguised debts. They're not worth it. So, how do you pay off debt if you have some? Well, make a budget. It's essential to track your expenses and income. You need to understand where your money is going. You can manage your money using the 50-30-20 rule. Let me explain. 50% of your money is for your needs. Needs are things you can't live without, like food, mortgage, health insurance, utilities, and so on. 30% of your money is for your wants. Wants are things you don't necessarily need but that improve your quality of life, like dining out, shopping, hobbies, and so on. 20% of your money is for savings or debt payments, which can be student loans, credit cards, etc. The debt snowball method. With the debt snowball method, you list all your debts in order from the smallest to the largest dollar amount. Here's how it works. Step 1. Make only the minimum payments on all your accounts. Step 2. Put as much extra money as possible towards the debt with the smallest balance. Step 3. Once that smallest debt is paid off, take the money you were putting towards it and apply it to the next smallest debt. Repeat this process until all your debts are paid off. This method is very effective because it includes a series of small wins early on that will give you the motivation to tackle the rest of your debt. There's also the potential to improve your credit scores faster with the debt snowball method, as you reduce the utilization on individual credit cards and the number of accounts with outstanding balances. The debt avalanche method. What the debt avalanche refers to is that you want to pay off your highest interest debt first. The reason is that mathematically, it's actually the most efficient way to do it. Using this strategy, you'll pay off your accounts in order from the highest interest rate to the lowest. Step 1. Again, make only the minimum payments on all your accounts. Step 2. Pay as much as possible towards the account with the highest interest rate. Step 3. Once that high interest debt is paid off, start paying as much as possible towards the account with the next highest interest rate, and so on, until all your debts are paid off. This way, you'll get out of debt faster because you're paying off the highest interest debts first. Stop using credit cards? Are you a compulsive buyer and can't control yourself? Next time you go out, leave the credit cards at home. Stop spending with credit cards until you have your finances under control. Change your habits. Take a moment and think about all those useless things you buy. All those things are part of the wish list. Maybe you smoke or pay for Netflix every month. Those are all unnecessary expenses that take money out of your pocket. Do you really need your daily coffee? For example, you can make your lunch for work at home instead of buying it every day. Ask yourself, what can I change without sacrificing too much of my quality of life? Never use debt again before asking for a new home loan, a new car, or a student loan. Stop, take a breath, and ask yourself if this debt will give me more than I put into it. The question may seem simple to you, but you really need to think about it carefully. It's definitely worth asking instead of drowning in unpaid debt. I suggest you make a list of pros and cons. If the result doesn't satisfy you, then going into debt isn't worth it. In conclusion, most of us spend a lot of money without really thinking about what we're buying. Track all your monthly expenses, reduce the things you don't need, and start saving the surplus or use it to reduce your debt. Thank you for watching this video. I hope I've helped you better understand what debt is and how to get out of it. I'm really curious to know what you think. We would like to know about your experience regarding the topic covered today. Share it with us in the comments, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them. We will gladly respond. Your like would be a source of satisfaction for us, and of course, do not forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming publications.